Hey, honey.
Yes, Barry?
Let's get out of here.
Where are we going?
Where do we always go?
Fascina el viento, este ritmo de palmas, sin naturaleza, hasta encontrar la playa. Por eso grito al mundo, yo soy de Puerto Vallarta. Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar. Samba de Puerto Vallarta.
Hello, fellow travelers, and welcome to this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. I'm your host, Barry Kessler. I'm just so happy to be introducing you to my favorite vacation destination. Hey, maybe it's even yours, and that's Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. The music you're listening to is performed by Alberto Perez. Now, Mr. Perez is the owner of the Lapa Lapa group of restaurants. Those are the Lapa Lapa, Puerto Vallarta's oldest restaurant on the famous Los Muertos Beach, and the El Dorado Restaurant and Beach Club right next door. So you can enjoy that fantastic view to Los Muertos Pier, all lit up at night in beautiful colors, or during the day in its grand splendor for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Seated with your toes in the sand right at the water's edge. It's so romantic. It's so Puerto Vallarta, my friends. This week we head over to Puerto Magico to meet one of the owners, Megan Kravetsky of Blake's Restaurant and Bar. It's a Vallarta favorite with new owners in a new location overlooking the cruise ships. It's absolutely beautiful. Then we visit with Mitch Regehr at Cacao Magico, also at Puerto Magico. Mitch is the son of our friend Dean Regehr, who we've had on the podcast before. Mitch will be talking about chocolate. He'll be talking about their new gift shop at the port called Regions Mexican Handcrafts, and a new mailing service to the States and to Canada called Ship by Mail. Lots to learn and talk about. We have Vallarta news, we have emails and more. So before we get to Mitch and Megan, let's see what's happening this week in Puerto Vallarta, the 11th of February, 2023. The 11th annual Puerto Vallarta Chili Cook-Off is coming to Puerto Magico, actually February the 18th. This is from Banderas News. Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. The Puerto Vallarta Chili Cook-Off will celebrate its 11th year and second year at Puerto Magico on Saturday, February 18th. This all-day noon to 7 family event features free chili tasting from more than 18 local restaurants and individuals. These chili chefs also compete for trophies in the popular and professional categories. In an unusual circumstance, last year, Blake's Restaurant and Bar won both categories. They will be back to defend their titles again this year. And we're going to be going to Blake's any minute now. We'll hear about that, I guess. In addition to chili tasting, 4 of the area's best bands will provide entertainment throughout the day. Add to that the mariachi group that will open the day, the raffle prizes provided by participating restaurants, a silent auction with many outstanding items to bid on, and the always exciting 50-50 drawing. And the Chili Cook-Off has something really for everyone. If you happen to work up a thirst for after tasting all that chili, you can head over to one of the 4 beverage stations on the Cook-Off grounds, the Murphy's Irish Pub Beer Gardens, the Nacho Daddy Mixed Drink Station, Ophelia's Wine Bar, or the American Sports Bar Margarita and Bloody Mary Bar. All proceeds from tickets and t-shirt sales, as well as a percentage of all the food and beverage sales, go to fund a nonprofit called the J. Sadler Project, AC, and its work to improve various institutions in the Puerto Vallarta and Banderas Bay area. These institutions include daycare centers, senior citizen homes, and schools for the disabled, public schools in rural areas, and other private charitable institutions. You can reserve covered seating online by going to chilicook off.chickpass.mx. I've got that information in the show notes, of course. Participating restaurants include Nacho Daddy, Murphy's Irish Pub, Andale's Restaurant and Bar, Escondida Sports Bar, Blake's Restaurant and Bar, Pinocchio Bar, Americana Sports Bar, Langostino's, Mabel's Cochina, Irma's Restaurant and Bar, Salty Caesar, Mama Quagma's Tacos and Beer, DZ Route 66, Extreme Performance, and I think there's a couple others which they don't list, but I have a link to all those in the show notes. They're from the Banderas News article, which I just read from. Of course, you can find that at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. Our friend Eddie Rodriguez from the American English Tree, the organization that takes the tuition that you pay to take Spanish classes and to learn Spanish at the American English Tree, and then he uses that money to teach a Mexican child how to speak English by giving them free English lessons supported by you, the Spanish student. It's pretty cool. I've had Eddie on the show. We've actually talked about this. And Eddie asked me to let everybody know that something is coming up in Puerto Vallarta. It's called Changing Lives PV 2023, Rockin' for the Cause at El Rio Barbecue. The event takes place February 20th at El Rio in Paso Ancho. The party begins at 1 and lasts until 6. Two bands are going to be playing. The Lovers and the Tres Cuartos are going to be there. There's going to be raffles. There's going to be 50-50, mariachi, folkloric dancers, special guest appearances, of course, lots of surprises, a silent auction. It's going to be a great event. Tickets are 500 pesos, or approximately $25 US, and the money all goes to a great cause. A part of your admission ticket will provide scholarships to learn English for children through American English Tree, and will also provide necessary support thanks to the Fundación Andrea 321AC for low-income children and young people with Down syndrome, intellectual disability, and neuromotor disorders have access to multidisciplinary care, Centro de Enseñanza y Aprendizaje Activo, AC, and the Specialized Child Rehabilitation Clinic, which allows them to have a dignified life, as well as full social, educational, and labor inclusion. Make sure you bring some extra pesos for food and drinks. That's not included in the entrance ticket fee. All that money, of course, goes to charity. It's going to be a great event. So if you're in town, please consider making the effort to get there. You're going to meet some great people over there, too. Changing Lives PV 2023, Rockin' for the Cause at El Rio Barbecue. Again, that will be February 20th from 1 until 6. Last week, I spent a lot of time telling you about the new tobacco or the anti-tobacco, anti-smoking laws that came into effect last month all throughout Mexico. It's basically an all-out ban on smoking in public spaces. The laws apply especially when it comes to food and drink mixing with tobacco products because, well, they don't. And I got a lot of emails asking me, Barry, WTF, what the? I'm a smoker. What do I do? Well, anyway, last week I said that the Jalisco governor, Enrique Alfaro, was against the plan. And as of the moment, they're all still trying to figure out how exactly they're going to implement this law. Now, I hear that there is still smoking going on in Puerto Vallarta, but I've also heard that there's been some shakedown activity out there by local cops. People have been harassed. Smokers have been harassed. But anyway, here's an article that I read yesterday in Vallarta Reporter. It reads, Jalisco makes it official. The new anti-tobacco law will not be enforced. Okay, let me read. The Secretary of Labor and Social Welfare of Jalisco, Marco Valerio Perez Gonzalez, said that there was a lack of publicization of the new regulations of the anti-tobacco law. He even said that the regulations should be reviewed again since it implies affecting different sectors and even over-regularization. He made it clear that they, as a dependency, will not interfere to enforce the new regulatory measures of the anti-tobacco law. Therefore, being a law, the Ministry of Law is only incorporated based on the official Mexican standards when they address safety and hygiene at the source of employment. If in the future it is derived that in that way they could have authority for verifications. Meanwhile, no. He said this law must be valued, that although it is true that health must be promoted and that everyone has the right to health, it's also true that prohibiting smoking 100% must be done in an orderly manner. He indicated that the new law lacked a lot of socialization and reasoning regarding the effects that occur from social, economic, and labor points of view, that is, in all areas, and not only in what was justified. It seems to me that it is a law that can be perfected. This law should be put into a laboratory to see everything that affects and everything that this overregulation implies, he said. As it stands, the regulation of the general law for tobacco control indicates that the places where smoking is prohibited in the country are the following: patios, terraces, balconies, amusement parks, playgrounds, and places where children and adolescents stay or congregate. Also included were urban development parks, sports parks, beaches, performance and entertainment centers, fields, stadiums, arenas, shopping malls, markets, hotels, hospitals, health centers, medical clinics, sites or places of religious worship, places of consumption of food or beverage service, and transportation stops. And I have a link to that article from the Vallarta Reporter online in the show notes. You can check it out. Remember, though, if you go to that link and click on it, it will take you to a page saying if you aren't paying for this subscription for the Vallarta Reporter, you can pay now. But don't worry, I have all that information in the show notes. I paid for it for you. So anyway, this is very interesting. We're going to be looking for more smoking sections, of course, all around town. There's going to be smoking areas. You can bet on it. Now, hopefully, they're going to be clearly marked and they're going to be delineated for places like hotels and resorts and restaurants and other places where people congregate. I mean, that seems to make sense to me. It looks like they just need a little bit of time to adjust to all of these changes. We're going to see. What can I say? Let me just tell you that smokers, don't despair. Now, I'm actually going to be bringing Fernando from Pacific Vape. He's going to be on the show in a couple of weeks. He'll be talking about vaping in Puerto Vallarta. He'll be talking about his place. And in the meantime, I'm kind of a sacrificing soul, as you all know. When I land, I'll buy a pack. I'll buy myself a box of Marlboro Rojo when I get to Puerto Vallarta, and I'll do a little experimenting around town, and I'll report back to all of you. Now, I leave for Vallarta from Los Angeles. I'm leaving from LAX on the 27th of February, so I'll be reporting back on my experiences within a few weeks. So you'll be able to figure out what your guinea pig went through. I received an email from listener Troy. Troy writes, "Hey, Barry, your podcasts are absolutely great. The first time I was in PV was in 1997. I had to quit going after 2001 because of my late wife's health and money issues that it caused. I have been spending a month each year starting in 2016. I know a lot of the places and some of the people that you interviewed. Your podcasts are great for a first-time visitor as well as somebody who's been there more. On your restaurant review interview with Gary Beck, I have comments about Rhythm of the Night. It's more than warriors shouting around. The show is more like a Cirque du Soleil show. I can send you some pics and some videos if you like. The buffet dinner is quite good. The boat ride to the island is really nice also. Again, Barry, thank you for all your helpful information. Your friend Troy. And I want to thank you, Troy. Thanks for that email. I totally agree with you that Gary did a pretty bad job. Not a bad job. He did a poor job of describing Rhythms of the Night, that tour way back when I had him. I had him on the show about 5 years ago, actually. And anyway, I wrote back to Troy and I thanked him for that offer to send me the pictures and the video, which he did. And I have them in the show notes. Actually, I'm going to get them in the show notes. If you get to the show notes and you don't find what I'm talking about today, go back tomorrow. I'll make sure I get them in there. And Troy, actually, I had planned to have JR back on the show after a long hiatus. And we're going to talk about some of the individual tours that he offers, including the Rhythms of the Night tour, which is by far his most popular tour, I can tell you that. And I'll be hanging with him and recording his musings about his tours, which, of course, you can always find at vallartainfo.com. And so anyway, thank you, Troy. I really appreciate you listening to the show, and I really appreciate you bringing that to my attention. Let's see here. I have another one. Hi, Barry. I found your podcast a few months back, and I have been addicted to listening to all your shows. My husband and I have been traveling to PV since 2017 and even got married there in 2022. We absolutely love it there, and we typically go there at least twice a year. This year, we're traveling over Valentine's weekend and possibly again over Dia de los Muertos. Definitely do it, you guys. If you can make a Dia de los Muertos, is so cool. I have learned so much about this wonderful city and have took you up on a few of your restaurant suggestions. I just want to let you know how much I enjoy the show and really appreciate all the efforts that you put into this. Cheers from Wisconsin, Lisa and Jason. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa and Jason. What a wonderful place to have a wedding. You know, you'll have to tell us, actually, where you had the ceremony and, give us a whole rundown. Why don't you do that? That would be kind of fun. We haven't talked about weddings here on the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show yet. So what do you guys think about that, Lisa and Jason? Anyway, good question, I guess, for everybody else. How many of you have been hitched in Puerto Vallarta? Maybe we can make a show out of that, right? So thank you for listening to the show. Thanks for those kind words. Marty, my friend and friend of the show, he writes, did you know if the FMM forms have been eliminated throughout the Mexican airports? I realize it's early, but I'm getting my eyeglass mission team ready for our September trip, and I would like to know if we still have to do the online FMM forms. I saw in Vallarta magazine that the new e-gates are being adopted in the Puerto Vallarta airport, but the magazine didn't mention any other airports. All right. Well, thank you, Marty. Now, if you don't know what the FMM card is, it's the tourist card that you fill out when you come into Mexico from the United States, or I guess from anywhere. And and the e-gates. So let's talk about this. As you know, I've been traveling, if you've been listening to the show, I've been traveling for the last couple of years to Puerto Vallarta via Cross-Border Express, and I'm flying out of Tijuana. And even though they eliminated the FMM for travelers flying into Puerto Vallarta from the U.S. and from Canada, I was still required to fill one of those things out when I was flying out of Tijuana, which I found kind of odd, but that's what they're still requiring. According to a recent article in Mexperience, this is dated February 5th, It explains that the phasing out of the FMM began in the summer of 2022. That's right. They began to phase out the paper version of the FMM, and now many ports in Mexico, including Vallarta, no longer use them. But because not all ports of entry are caught up to date, here's what they suggest to do. We are still learning about the changes taking place, are updating this article, and as additional information becomes available. But meanwhile, if you arrive in Mexico as a visitor, you should continue to complete a paper FMM form if it's available at the port of entry. If you apply online for an FMM, continue to follow the procedures stated on the online system. If a paper version of the FMM is stamped and given back to you at the port of entry, keep this safe. You'll need it to exit Mexico when you leave. That's right. Otherwise, you're going to be paying, I think it was like $35 to have that replaced. And you can do that at the airport in Puerto Vallarta. If you don't get a paper version of the FMM, the immigration official will place a stamp in your passport instead in lieu of the paper FMM. This will also be marked to show how many days you have been granted to stay as a visitor, and you will need to show this page when you leave Mexico. As far as the new e-gates are concerned, Marty, they are installing them in Puerto Vallarta. The first ones were installed in Cancun earlier this month, and evidently it was so successful that they're expanding these e-gates to the ports in Los Cabos, the gateway to Baja California Sur, and to Puerto Vallarta in Jalisco. Now, these are those biometric machines that detect your facial features. They scan your passport, you smile into the camera, and then the stupid thing knows exactly who you are. Isn't that wonderful? They know who you are, they know what you're worth, and what you're having for dinner, and what you're thinking about before letting you into the country. This article is from traveloffpath.com. It says, self-service kiosks will ensure disruption is kept to a minimum and that agents are not overwhelmed by the rising influx of passengers. Officials have not agreed on an official date for the start of the Los Cabos Puerto Vallarta trial, but it should take place in the coming weeks or in the next few months at the latest. And I have links to both that Mexperience article about phasing out that FMM, as well as that article from traveloffpath.com talking about those biometric kiosks in the show notes. You'll find it at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. I got a message from a listener who was quite upset, not because of what I had to say about COVIDs or shots or anything like that, but they went to Hot Mama's Whiskey Kitchen over in Ampus, and they found out that it was closed. And Gina could not get her lease renewed over at the Ampus location. But if you remember, when I interviewed her last year, she was on the verge of opening a new location over on Francisco Villa, 694, in fact, Francisco Villa, near Costco. It's in Colonia La Vena. So anyway, I apologize for missing that one. So yeah, she had to close that one, but luckily she had this one that she had just opened. And wow, it was very crazy for her. Make sure that you do, when you come into town, check out her newest location over there on Francisco Villa. I'm going to stop in. I'm going to have a chat with Gina when I get back in town at the end of the month, and we will do some catching up. Now, this week, we are going to be heading over to Puerto Magico. We're going to catch up with Mitch Regehr of Cacao Magico, and we're going to meet Megan Kravetsky from Blake's Restaurant and Bar, which is newly opened in Puerto Magico. Now, the port was very, very busy this season. The 2022 season had over 450,000 passengers and 186 cruise ships. Now, as opposed to 2021, where there was just a little more than 108,000 passengers, and of course, quite fewer cruise ships. The 2023 cruising season is already off to a big start, with 30 ships that already arrived last month in January, with a total of more than 190 ships expected throughout the year. It's safe to say that the port is a really busy place, and almost every month, if you're listening to the show, it seems like I'm announcing another event that's taking place over at Puerto Magico. We had the Taco Festival, the Agua Chili Festival, the Beer Festival. Puerto Magico is, well, they're making waves, and they're quickly becoming a part of the Vallarta food and entertainment scene. The port is not just for cruisers anymore. It's becoming a destination for locals and for visitors who didn't arrive on a big ship. So anyway, first I want to have a talk with Mitch Regehr from Cacao Magico. Their chocolate, I have to say, is so good. Oh, my wife and I enjoyed a box of chocolates while we were there. I mean, not at the shop, but for the whole trip. Their chocolate is so good. You got to buy some, really. And they're not only delicious, but they're truly works of art. And they're, kind of afraid to eat them. They're so pretty. Now, Mitch has a couple of announcements for us. So we've met his dad. We met Dean. But it's about time that you meet the younger generation. So let's go right now to one of my favorite places in Puerto Vallarta, to a chocolate shop in Puerto Magico. Let's meet Mitch Regehr. Cacao Magico, located in Puerto Magico, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Hey, Mitch, thanks for coming on the show today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You know what? We have not had you on the show. You got your dad. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? And, what was your path? Obviously, you got here as a young man here in Puerto Vallarta.
Right. So my name's Mitch. I'm 34 years old. I've been living in Puerto Vallarta for 13 years. I came down when I was, 20 years old. My father and I, Dean, we started an ATM business, Cashola, when we first arrived to Mexico. So,
you were the Cashola machines?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we had a unique business experience, starting that out in Puerto Vallarta and then expanding that across Mexico. Learned a lot of lessons, had a lot of fun, and from there we set our roots in Puerto Vallarta and branched off into different businesses. I now have a family. I have one daughter, a baby boy on the way. We have, a number of different projects, a number of different areas of involvement in the community, and we're enjoying our time here in Puerto Vallarta.
Fantastic. All right, so we know a little bit about Cacao Magico. You have classes in
we do hands-on chocolate experiences.
Yeah.
So we have our head chocolatier. He does private group sessions, teaching the people involved how to make your own chocolate, the process of making your own chocolate. We actually make your own bars, make your own truffles. We do special kids experiences where the kids make their own chocolate pizzas. We do lots of birthdays.
Chocolate pizzas, really?
Oh, yeah.
What do you put on a chocolate pizza, Mitch?
Well, we have M&Ms. You have there's like a chili mango mix, peanuts, almonds. There's these dried pineapple pieces. You name it. If it's sweet, we can kind of involve it.
All right. So you have a mixture of both Mexican and north of the border clientele. What's the difference as far as is there a different taste palette going on there? Are Mexicans buying a different kind of chocolate than the Americans?
Mexicans go for the milk chocolate. Americans go for the dark chocolate.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, that's what we normally see. I mean, that's not a rule.
No.
But rule of thumb, that's how it works.
Yeah. Do they like do you make spicy chocolates? Do you make chocolates with chili?
We do.
Yeah.
We do. And it's a big seller in the summer months when we have the Mexican summer vacation.
Yeah.
And the gringos, I mean, North Americans, to be honest, they're not really even intrigued to try it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's delicious, you guys. If you haven't tried it, get on it. Come on. It is amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Now, you have something that we were just talking about that you've just started here.
Okay.
Tell us about that.
So Regions Mexican Handcraft. So that's another retail store that we've just launched at Puerto Magico. We launched that about 7 months ago. And, I mean, it's, I'm not going to say it's your typical handcraft store. It's an artisanias business. What we did is we went around to the different regions of Mexico and we visited the fabricas, so the where all the artisanias are fabricated, where they're made. We visited all these different families and groups and regions, and we brought all the merchandise here. And so we actually have quite a unique store with a huge array of different products: raicilla, mezcal, alebrijes, barro negro, catrinas, copper. I mean, you name it. Real handmade artisanias, we have it in that store.
Right. Nothing from China. It's all from Mexico.
Nothing from China.
When you go to these places, these little fabricas, are they like little houses? Are they little factories? What are they like?
I mean, we found a whole different array of options. I mean, people with wood burning stoves in the floor inside their house where they actually bake in the barro negro, to huge mezcal factories. I mean, we've seen it all.
Yeah. That must be that must be half the fun is doing something like that, right?
Oh yeah. So we don't get to do it as frequently now as when we first started the business. When we first started the business, I mean, we took a couple months and really went around and experienced the Mexican culture and really found unique merchandise. And now the supply chains are set up so it's a little more automated. But no, It was a very unique experience.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. That's fantastic. All right. So those is there anything like special? Anything that stands out there? I mean, obviously you're doing drink. Is there food involved there too? Do you have anything like that?
We have some traditional Mexican candies. To be honest, some of those are fabricated. They're now in the chocolate shop in Cacao Magico. But for me, the alebrijes is probably my favorite. Some of the pieces that we have, they have 2,000 hours in hand painting details. It's incredible.
That sounds absolutely amazing. All right, so where exactly, if you were going to be walking into the front door of Puerto Magico, where are we going to find this?
So if you walk through the front doors, you walk straight towards Patio Central. You turn immediately right. You're going to walk right into Regions Handcrafts.
Okay, and it's Regions Handcrafts.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have a link to that in the show notes, of course, and I'll have pictures of it as well. You'll find it in the show notes at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. All the contact information will be there for Puerto Magico, for Cacao Magico, and, of course, for Regions Handcrafts. Let's talk about, let's go out into town for a little while. I know you're married and you got kids and stuff like that. If there's nightclubs all around this place, right? You drive up and down, and there's places to party, right? In town, you've got like the 3 loud nightclubs on the Malecon. What do they got around here? What's around here that you can party?
Around Zona Hotelera.
Yeah.
That's a great question. I'm personally more of a downtown, old town kind of guy.
Oh, okay. So you don't know, right? I mean, I drive past Strana. I've driven past...
Strana's close. La Santa's close. I mean, those would be the more nightclub-style destinations. Barra is upstairs at Plaza Peninsula.
Okay.
That's more of a Mexican spot. I'm a more of a Roxy, El Sonador kind of guy. So
so those are in town. Those are in Zona Romantica.
Right.
Right.
That's pretty much
That's it.
around
That's
here.
I've drained Mitch of all that information because those are his favorites there. Okay, so if you had somebody that you were going to meet here at Puerto Magico and you didn't have time, you had to get back to work and stuff like that, but you had time to get him into a car and take him to one place in Puerto Vallarta, the one spot that represents Puerto Vallarta, where would that be?
I would probably take him for a walk down the Malecon, and then maybe stop at maybe Margarita Grill down in Olas Altas.
Yeah, that's a great place. It's a perfect people watching spot, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
I got all kinds of action there. They got great margaritas. It's a fun environment. You can have a couple cocktails there, and then go explore Old Town, and then maybe head over to downtown later on. It's a good spot.
That
Catch
is.
the sunset.
Oh, excellent. Okay, so you guys, that's a great thing to do, and they might even be able, maybe not catch a sunset, but they might be able to get back to the ship in time before it leaves, right?
Sure. Yeah.
What's the schedule like here? What is the ship schedule? When do they usually leave?
Depends on the ship. Typically, the Carnival Panorama is here from 8 a.m. till 9 p.m.
Okay.
So they're here for a full 12, 13 hours. The Princess ships and the Celebrity, Holland America, typically they're coming in at 7, 8 a.m. and they're leaving sometime between 4 and 6 p.m. So they leave a little earlier.
Okay. Are there any ships that come here that stay the night?
Yes, but not that frequently. I would say once every 4 or 5 months we'll have a ship stay overnight.
Yeah, and that's probably not one of the big cruise liners that you see.
So sometimes they do. Yeah,
Oh, do
the
they?
big ones do.
Okay, all right, wow. If you had a word of advice for a first-time traveler coming to Puerto Vallarta, what would it be? Besides coming to Cacao Magico and eating all kinds of chocolate.
I would probably just say arrive with an open mind and be open to experience the culture and learn new things. Don't expect to experience your regular traditions from where you're from. You're here to see the culture, open up your eyes and enjoy it.
Yeah, excellent. And what about words of warning? Any words of warning for somebody?
Yeah, just regular. Be careful. Stick to the regular touristy areas. I mean, once you have more time here, you know your way around a little bit better. You can be a little bit more adventurous. If it's your first time here, don't try to learn everything on your first trip.
Yeah, my wife and I, we were walking one day and walking through a neighborhood, and we stopped into Abarotes place and to get a Coke, and he says, "What are you doing here?" And we said, "What do you mean?" He says, "Well, I would turn around and I'd go back down the street."
Yeah.
So, yeah, you got to watch what you do sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's come back here again. Give us the information again for Cacao Magico.
Cacao Magico, so CACAO and then Magico.
Right.
And Facebook, Instagram, website. Pretty straightforward.
You name it. It's right here at Puerto Magico. I'll have all those links, like I said, in the show notes. Mitch, I want to thank you so much for taking your... you know what, Mitch? You were mentioning something else to me earlier. You were mentioning maybe about some sort of a mailing service that you're working on?
Right. So we do have an international shipping company that we've been working on. So that company is called Ship by Mail. This is the Ship by Mail Mexico division. So we've recently formed a partnership with Ship by Mail to do all their Mexican distribution. So the first physical location is going to be here at Puerto Magico, with the focus on this company. I mean, I've been living here for 13 years. Shipping back and forth to Canada and the United States was a nightmare for many, many years for us. So we wanted to revolutionize that service, and as we investigate in it, we're learning about a lot of opportunity in shipping medications, online pharmacies, and just speedy, safe shipping services from Mexico to your door in Canada or the States. So shipping times in 4 to 7 days, prices that are traditionally 15 to 20% below the competition. and just secure. You're not going to lose your packages. They're not going to get held up in customs. It's a I guess an American Canadian style business right here in Puerto Vallarta.
Wow, that's fantastic. And that's going to be like mail from here to there.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to have a soft launch actually this month, but for us to really be able to identify and have all the different services up and running, probably looking at January, February to have all 4 phases rolled out.
Okay.
So I don't want to get too into detail right now, but I think if we did a follow-up session on it, I think we're going to have a lot of exciting information for everybody.
I think that's what we're going to do. When I come back in January, I will stop by and we'll talk about that.
Fabulous.
All right. Hey, Mitch, I want to thank you so much for taking your time and making people aware of what's going on here at Puerto Magico. Very, very exciting. Now you have something else going on other than chocolate over at
Cacao Magico. And Regions Mexican Handcrafts.
At Regions Mexican Handcrafts.
Well, I really appreciate you having me on the show, and it's my pleasure to educate everybody about what we're doing down here at Puerto Magico.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. All right. Thank you, Mitch. That's great news. Great information. I have links to the ship by mail service. You're going to find those over in the show notes. I also have information for Regions Mexican Handicrafts, as well as, Cacao Magico. Now, let's stay in the Puerto Magico and let's check out the newest addition to the port. It's a restaurant with a familiar name to the Vallarta regulars, and that name is Blake's Restaurant and Bar. The restaurant is lovely. It has indoor and outdoor areas as well as a beautiful view of the cruise ships docked in the harbor. It's really pretty. We even saw the Margalante, the pirate ship, preparing for her nightly tour. And I'm telling you, the ship's soaring above with the blue water backdrop. It's a really stunning sight. Now, Blake's has new owners. Well, as of 2018, they did. And obviously now they have a new location. So I wanted to introduce these owners to you, and I had the privilege and the pleasure of meeting one of them. Her name is Megan, and now I have the pleasure of introducing her to you. So let's, like I said, we're going to stay in Puerto Magico. Let's go upstairs, and let's meet a lovely Canadian lady. Her name is Megan Kravetsky, the owner of Blake's Restaurant and Bar, Puerto Magico, in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Megan, thanks for coming on the show today.
No, thanks for having me.
Where are you from?
Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada.
And how did you get to Puerto Vallarta?
Well, I had, my parents had brought us here starting when we were young, so when I was about 3 years old. My mom was a flight attendant for half of her life. She always loved Mexico. And she begged and pleaded my dad to go to Mexico for a vacation, but he hated the sun because he owned a landscaping company in Winnipeg. Finally, my mom convinced him, and we went for our first family vacation, I think in 1992 or 93, to Mexico, staying at Crown Paradise. And ever since then, my parents have never left.
Really?
So they're here 6 or 7 months a year, and traveled here over 70 times before I had the opportunity to purchase a bar down here.
Well, so you spent a ton of time here. Your dad was, obviously, he was tricked. Your mom said, you're going to come down here, that's it, right?
Yeah, that's about it. He got tricked real well.
Yeah, he did. Well, he fell in love too, right?
Yeah, as soon as he stepped foot on the beach, it was way different than the sun in Winnipeg working underneath it. It's much nicer sitting and relaxing on the beach watching the ocean.
Yeah, absolutely. And so your first time here, how old were you?
I think it was 4.
Yeah?
Somewhere around there.
Oh, wow. So this was in 90, you said
92 or 93, I think was our first trip.
Yeah, it was a baby. Puerto Vallarta was a baby.
Yeah.
All right, so tell us a little bit about what you do here now.
Well, I have Blake's Restaurant and Bar.
Now, how did that happen?
Well, in 2017-ish, beginning of 2018, we were approached and somebody said there was a bar in Puerto Vallarta that they're looking for a Canadian or a Winnipeg owner because it was originally owned by Susan Blake and Mike Blake. And Susan was from Victoria and Mike was from Winnipeg. So they were looking for a Canadian owner because they were looking to sell.
Uh-huh.
And somebody approached me and my family and asked us if we were interested, if I was interested in purchasing a bar down here. So we came on one of our vacations. My parents were already down here. I just showed up. And we looked at Blake's and we looked at a couple other venues that were for sale.
Yeah.
And I really liked Blake's. It was a cute little restaurant on the main drag. Nice interior. It was really well known. They had a great reputation. And I said, what the heck, let's do it. So I sold everything I owned in Winnipeg, my house, my car, put my dog on an airplane, and away I went. And that was that.
Wow. Was it hard getting your dog on an airplane?
Yeah, it was the worst experience ever, actually.
Really? What happened?
Yeah.
What happened?
The poor dog was stuck in transit for over 33 hours and never been in a crate in her life and never been on an airplane ever. And it was just, it was the very last flight out of Winnipeg before the ban happened.
Oh, yeah.
That you can't fly dogs. And She got stuck in Calgary and then stuck in customs here. And poor dog, she'll never get on an airplane.
God.
Ever again.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, don't tell my wife that. Will you not tell my wife that, please?
No, never.
Right.
Don't let her listen.
All right. So Blake's at the time was, right on the drag, on the main drag, and that was, how many years ago was that?
That was 2018 is when I bought it. So
Okay.
it had been already running for 12 or 13 years at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just in Plaza Las Glorias there. A cute little tiny place. Casual fine dining is what they had it as.
Yeah.
And then I purchased it in September 2018. And we completely changed it around. Brought in all brand new menu, brought in live music, which live music wasn't a huge thing at the time. And then it became a very huge ordeal where everybody loved live music and afternoon live music. And
they're kind of expecting it, right?
Yeah, taking off with, we had some really great bands when we first started. We still have amazing bands now. We had Calavera Beach. We obviously had La Tres Cuatros. Back then we had Soul Trip as well. The Black Mambas. They were all huge parts of starting the whole journey of what Blake's is now.
Yeah.
Lots of good friends of mine that I had known for many years from just coming down here. So that's how I got into doing the live music, was with all of my friends of the bands who were like, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a good venue for that.
Yeah.
So now you're here. How did you end up at Puerto Magico?
Well, after my location in Plaza Las Glorias, I moved over to beside Plaza Santa Maria. We had a beautiful location there. Unfortunately, some circumstances with the landlord who didn't pay her taxes.
Oh, good.
So, unfortunately, we weren't able to take out any more of our licensing there. So I messaged Dean, and Dean had been a good customer and a great friend, and asked him if there was any spots available for us or if he knew of anywhere to go. And he said, come check out Puerto Magico. Great, let's do it. So came, looked at the locales that were available, and fell in love with where we're sitting right now.
Yeah, where we're sitting right now, you can see the cruise ships when they're here. And you just got a great view from where you're sitting here, and a nice breeze. And you've got a beautiful restaurant that you built here.
Thank you. Yeah, so we built it from the ground up. I designed it all, and we have this lovely patio that we're sitting on right now, and then we have our internal dining area, and we have our terrazza, which faces the mountains. So we got quite a lot of space here. It's a much bigger location than any of our other locations.
Yeah.
And the view, that mountain view at night on the other side, and watching all the ships come in the morning is amazing.
I bet.
Yeah.
Oh, it must be great.
Yeah.
Tell us about your menu.
Blake's menu is an international menu. We have a little bit of everything. Our specialty is smoked meats. So we have a big smoker on our terrazza side. So when you're sitting on that side, you get to smell all the smoked meat smoking. So our pulled pork, our smoked brisket, our ribs are a huge hit. We do different specials throughout the week. We have a happy hour from 2 to 5. We do all-you-can-eat wings on Saturdays. We do all-you-can-eat riblets on Fridays. And then, obviously, our prime rib dinner is a huge hit on Sundays.
On Sundays. Do you have to make reservations for the prime rib?
We do ask that you do make reservations for the prime rib, so you're guaranteed a piece.
Yeah, it's kind of like standard around these places nowadays, right?
Yeah.
Make that reservation for prime rib. Your breakfast menu is...
And we do breakfast from starting next week from 8 a.m. until 12. And so our breakfast menu is, as well, it's everything from chili killies to pancakes and waffles to the eggs your way to stuffed French toast that we do with our in-house banana bread that we make in-house in our bakery. And then it has a cinnamon sugar cream cheese filling. And fruit plates, yogurt parfaits, lots of fresh items. Everything that we do here, we make absolutely everything in-house. There's nothing that we buy at all. Any of our salad dressings, pizza dough, pizza sauce, everything here is made in-house.
Wonderful. Wow. All right. So... You said you have a bakery.
Yes.
And when I walked up here and I saw you have like something going on there. What is that? What is that little shop?
So I opened up a second business this year. We opened up Sweet Temptations Bakery Boutique. That kind of all started with my husband. He's a professional baker. So he joined Blake's last year, and he was my chef at Blake's, and then we decided to start the bakery because that's his specialty is he's a professional baker.
Yeah.
And so the recipes from the bakery are my father's and my husband's, and then a combination of them two together.
Nice.
Working on all the breads. So it's freshly baked breads, artisanal breads, cakes, danishes, Nanaimo bars, any of those sort of things.
Yeah.
Bagels.
Bagels too. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So this is, great breakfast fare going on there too, right?
Yeah.
All right. So you've already told us your hours. You're going to be starting your breakfast at 7, you said?
8 a.m.
8 a.m.
8 a.m.
So if you're going to come down and, meet somebody at the cruise dock, you come here a little early, right? Get here before they come pulling in. Get yourself a little breakfast. Or take them up for breakfast, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then we do cafes, lattes, cappuccinos, frappuccinos, chai lattes, everything else in the bakery. So it's also a cafe as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. And you got a bar. You got a full bar going on.
Yeah, we actually have 2 bars. So we have our inside bar here, and then starting in the next 2 weeks, we have our outdoor bar as well to service both areas.
Excellent. Let's take a quick minute. Let's go out to town for just a minute because I'm going to have all the links, by the way. So everybody, I'm going to have pictures of Blake's, of the new place, and of the new bakery, and just of the great view that they've got here from their terrazza. Let's go into town. Let's talk a little bit about things that you like, because you've spent a lot of time in Puerto Vallarta. If you had a day off and you were going to go do something and come back, no limits, right? What would you do?
I really like Tegua Mixle. It's one of my favorite places to go. It's a nice, quiet beach. The drive out there is really nice. It's a very calm highway to drive to go out past El Tuito there. And I love oysters. And the oysters there are huge, the size of double my hand. And they're absolutely delicious. So I love driving out to Tegua Mixle and then just hanging out on the beach and enjoying the food and the scenery out there.
I love it. And it's just like a 2-hour ride, right? It's not too bad.
Long.
Yeah,
no,
bad.
But it's very calm highway, so
yeah,
it's
and
not
you have
full
to be careful.
of the
You have
traffic.
to be careful though, because they got ruts and things in the road. So, but you won't be driving. You guys won't be driving. You're going to have somebody else drive you. So, or maybe, I don't know. Maybe you got a car. But if you are, be careful. How about if you had 3 days? What would you do?
If I had 3 days?
Yeah.
Ooh, it's a dream come true if that happens. If I had 3 days, I'd probably take an airplane somewhere to maybe the other side to, I don't know.
You have a favorite place in Mexico that is not Puerto Vallarta?
I've only actually been to Guadalajara, Tepic, and Vallarta. I haven't really gotten an opportunity to travel very much internally in Mexico, so,
yeah. So
I'd probably go anywhere.
This would be a good chance,
Yeah,
right,
it
to
would
get that
be.
done.
Yeah.
You got one in your head that you want to go to? Yeah.
I think a lot of it too is I have a 2-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
So
this is
I would like
is
to,
hard, right?
I would be a good first airplane ride to go somewhere close enough, but not long enough for her to have a tantrum.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah. No, I know that. I flew with our kids too. I know the deal.
So
If you had a word of advice for a first-time traveler, what would it be?
don't overpack. Everything is readily available here. So I see that, just looking online and Facebook, everybody wonders, oh, can I get this here? Can I get that in Mexico? Is it this available? Silly things like Pantene Pro V shampoo or whatever it may be. But don't overpack because, everything's readily available. We have Walmart. We have any of the bigger box stores, and everything's readily available here. So people worry if they forget something that they won't be able to have it on their vacation, but everything's here,
Yeah,
if not
don't
better.
worry. Don't worry, if not better. And don't worry too. I mean, if you leave your drugs at home. I mean, if you leave your prescriptions. I don't mean drugs. Because yes, leave your drugs at home, but if you leave your prescriptions at home, you can even get those too.
Yeah, and everything's readily available here.
Yeah.
So I think the other thing would be is don't be afraid. I think a lot of people have a fright of Mexico. Maybe not necessarily just Puerto Vallarta, but all of Mexico. But I feel very safe here. I love living here. Never once in my life being here have I felt unsafe. I feel much safer here than walking downtown Winnipeg. So,
If you had any place to live in Vallarta, any colonia, anywhere that you wanted to live, where would it be?
I really like Independencia behind Macro Plaza there.
Yeah.
That's sort of the area that we live in now.
It's pretty quiet there, isn't it?
It's a quiet area,
Yeah.
and that's what I really, really like, is that it's quiet, except for Christmas. It's really loud. Lots of firecrackers go off.
Yeah.
But aside from that, it's close to everything. It's nice and breezy over there. It's not as hot as being directly in the sunny areas here, because we have so many trees and fresh fruits and everything else that grow on our land and everything there. That it's nice to be away from the hustle bustle of the busier parts of the city, like
Yeah.
Versailles or Fluvial or downtown.
Yeah,
So,
no kidding. That's really interesting. Got any hobbies?
hobbies. Well, my hobbies before used to be cooking and smoking meats, but now I do that for a living. So
So what are you smoking? What you say you do ribs? You're doing the
I smoke whatever I can smoke.
Yeah?
We smoke red snapper. We do wings. We do burgers. We do bacon. We do
Oh
brisket.
wow! So you're just doing it. Whatever you can put
Pork
smoke
belly,
on, right?
whatever I can put in there, I put in there. So our chili has a little bit of secret smoke in there as well. With last year's chili cook-off, we were the top runner-up. We were the first placer.
You were almost the first placer?
No, we were
Oh,
the
you were
first
the first
placers.
You were the first placers?
We were the first placers.
Okay, everybody. So check their
So
chili out.
Our chili is pretty big here, so and that has smoke in it as well. So
Okay. All right. All right. Well, let's come back to Blake's.
All right. Here we
Tell
go.
everybody again how you get here. You just come to Puerto Magico, right?
Yeah, well, a lot of people unfortunately don't know Puerto Magico is a public plaza, which many of the port plazas are not public plazas, but Vallarta, we do have a public port plaza. So it's very, very neat. We're located in front of La Jolla Hospital. And it's on Francisco Medina Asensio, our the normal drag, the middle drag there. And we're located on the second floor. You can access us by the elevator or the stairs, or there's an escalator in the center there. Mm-hmm. So it's easily accessible for everybody.
Yeah, it is. And it's beautiful. It's a really great spot. You're going to really love it when you come down here. The view is beautiful. It'll get you out of the town, and it'll get you someplace new, interesting. Yes. And I really love what you've done here. Very nice. Very nice.
Thank you.
If I've forgotten anything, is there anything that we need to add?
We have events that happen here as well. We have the Portapalooza event that's going to be happening on November 19th. So that's the largest local music festival in Vallarta. We have 10 bands playing that day, throughout the entire day. So it's all local bands. We have mariachi in the morning. We have breakfast buffet in the morning as well. The tickets can be purchased online or here at Blake's. So it's great that, now we're able to, we have a nice location. We have a big enough location that we're able to help out some of the charities that we do help out. One, which is the J. Sadler Foundation. So with Chili Cook-Off, with the J. Sadler Foundation, and now this Portapalooza that's we've just started this coming year. Uh-huh. It should be a great event for us.
Fantastic. All right. Well, we'll talk about that as it arrives. We'll talk about it on the show. Of course, you're on Facebook. You're on Instagram.
Yep.
All that other good stuff.
Yep.
All the social networks.
Yep.
So we'll have links to all those in the show notes as well. We'll have the address. We'll have pictures. We'll have food porn. We're going to have everything that you need here.
Perfect.
And, Megan, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show and introducing yourself and introducing Blake's to my listeners. I truly appreciate it.
Yay. Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, Megan. Thank you so much. Thanks for talking with us. And thanks for bringing booze and food and live music to Puerto Magico. And, don't forget fresh baked goods and coffee, too. We're at Sweet Temptations Bakery Boutique. And you know what? Best luck to you and your family in your new endeavor as business owners in the port in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. I have links and I have pictures in the show notes, as well as links to the places that Megan and Mitch talked about. You'll find them, of course, at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. All right, well, that should do it for today. Stay tuned for more on-the-ground reports from Puerto Vallarta, Mexico next week with travel tips, great restaurant excursion ideas, and more. But until then, remember that this is an interactive show where I depend on your questions and your suggestions about all things Puerto Vallarta. If you think of something that I should be talking about, well, please reach out to me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending us a message. And remember, if you're considering booking any type of tour while you're in Puerto Vallarta, you must go to vallartainfo.com. That's JR's website. Reserve your tour through him, right from his website. Remember, this is a value-for-value proposition. His experience and on-the-ground knowledge of everything Puerto Vallarta in exchange for your making a purchase of a tour that you would do anyway. You're just doing it through him as a way of saying thank you. Thanks, JR, for being our guide. It costs no more than if you were going to use someone else, so do it, really. And when you do take one of those tours, email me about your experiences. Maybe you can come on board and share with others what you liked or didn't like about the tour. Again, contact me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending off a message. And don't forget his maps, his DIY tours, and I have all the links to all of those in the show notes. And once again, if you like this podcast, please take the time and subscribe and follow and share with a lover of Puerto Vallarta, or give me a good review wherever you happen to be listening to the show. That way we can get word out to more and more people about the magic of this place, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And remember, I made it easy for you to do just that with each episode I create. But if you haven't been to my website, you really need to have a look there. I have links to the places that we talk about, interesting pictures, and more right there in my blog posts and in the show notes for each episode of the show. So check them out for sure if you haven't already. All right. Thank you so much to Mitch Regehr from Cacao Magico, and now shipped by mail, and that new mail service between Mexico, Canada, and the United States, and then of course Regions Mexican Handicrafts in Puerto Magico. Check out all that stuff in the show notes. We've got pictures, we've got links, we've got information, and hey, take a chocolate making class. You'll have a blast and a sweet time. Thanks so much to Megan Kravetsky from Blake's Restaurant and Bar and Sweet Temptations Bakery Boutique in Puerto Magico. Visit them for some good food, for some live music, great drinks, and an amazing view. Actually, one of the best views in Puerto Vallarta. Or just coffee and scones. I have links to their Facebook page, contact information, and a Google map that'll take you to the entrance of Puerto Magico right there in the show notes. And hey, thanks to all of you for listening all the way through this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. This is Barry Kessler, signing off with a wish for you to all slow down, be kind, and live Vallarta lifestyle. Nos vemos, amigos.
De Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar. Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de amor junto al mar. Solo camino eterno por la playa, me encuentro junto al río cuando todo está en calma. Pronto cae la noche, brillas Puerto Vallarta.